Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have my June update for my 1 month 1 palette. So I'll be talking about my May palette, how I used it, and then introducing the palette I'll be using for the entire month of June. So my May palette was the Tarte Rainforest After Dark palette. This is what it looks like after using it all month. So May was another month for me where I wore makeup a little bit less than I normally do. There were a lot of days where I just wasn't wearing makeup. I traveled to Chicago for a wedding, and then my friend came to visit and she was staying in this room actually, and so I didn't really feel like being like, oh excuse me, I need to go in there for 25 minutes and put on a full face of makeup just to hang out with you all day. So there were like maybe 5 or 6 days the whole month I wasn't wearing makeup, plus some weekends, I've been working in my garden, working on our yard and stuff like that, so there were more days than normal for me that I wasn't wearing anything. But when I did wear makeup, I did stick to wearing this palette, and there were about 3 looks that I kind of went between. And one I did more than others, because when I did wear makeup this month, I went pretty minimal. So today I have on the purple look I did with this palette, and I really love this look. Going into this month, I kind of had meh feelings about this palette, and I will say I could definitely live without it, but I definitely enjoyed the shadows way more than I thought I did. Tarte shadows are just a lot different than the shadows I normally enjoy. They're packed in here really tight, and I don't know, they're just not my favorite, but I did like them a lot more than I thought I was going to. So for this look, I used this light pink shade all over to set my primer, and I used my Black Orchid Color Tattoo as a base. Then I used this one all over the lid. I used this one plus Mauve from the Lorac Pro in the crease, and then I used this on the outer third of my lid. And then I just lined it with a black liner. So that's a look I did a few times, but I definitely did some other looks more often. And I use this light pink shade almost every day to set my primer, my cream shadow. I did sometimes go with a cream shade just because this does give a little bit of a pink look to my look, and I didn't always feel like that. And then I would use this light brown in the crease and the dark brown kind of in the outer V. Sometimes I would leave it like that with just kind of this shade or a cream shade on my lid. Sometimes I would add this highlight shade actually on my lid, and sometimes I would add the gold shade on my lid. But I'll say just kind of the all matte look was the one I did the most this month. So even after using this for a whole month, I really don't see very much usage. The pink shade I definitely use the most. I kind of dig my brush into there every single day to set my primer and everything. And you can kind of see on the side there's a very slight dip happening, but it's very slight. So I know that if I ever tried to pan these, it would be a struggle. It would take a long time because they kind of last forever. And I've kind of seen other people who've panned Tarte shadows kind of say the same thing, that they're really packed in there, they're really hard, and it takes a while to get through them. And then in addition to the eyeshadows, I've been trying to pan this bronzer all year. It's the only bronzer I've used, except for when I traveled to the wedding. I didn't bring this big pulp palette, I just brought something else. But there's, a very slight dip in here too. You can kind of see it now, it's a little bit more noticeable, but even after using it exclusively for 5 months, I have not hit pan. And then I am panning a bunch of cream blushes, as you guys know, but I did end up using this one to set it. I don't even know if I used any other blushes this month to set any cream blushes. And I didn't use it to set them every single time, but I definitely used this blush a ton as well. And yeah, it still has all its little markings in it. It's a little bit worn down in the middle, but nothing really significant. And then I used this highlight maybe once or twice on my face, but it's just not my favorite. I mostly used it as an eyeshadow. So those are my thoughts on the Rainforest After Dark palette. Like I said, after using it for a month, I could definitely live without it, but I did like it more than I thought I was going to. So I've thought about painting this at some point in the future, and I still might, but I think it will take me way longer than I imagined just because of how tightly all of the eyeshadows are packed in the pans. So as you guys know, I moved back home in mid-April, and so for May, at first I was really excited to use some of the palettes I had left here behind while I was at my internship. But then, of course, for whatever reason, I decided to use this one, which I had with me the whole year. So I was excited to kind of look at all the palettes and see which ones I haven't touched for a really long time, and this one really stuck out to me. I've really been wanting to do my 1 month 1 palette with this palette for a while, so I'm very excited to say I will be using the Naked palette in the month of June. So this is what my Naked palette looks like right now. Just realized that this mirror cover is still on the mirror. I've only had this for like 2 years. So this wasn't the first high-end purchase I ever made, but it's definitely the purchase that spurred my makeup obsession. So in January of 2014, I got my first high-end makeup palette. It was my Smashbox Blue Eyes palette, which I used in my Pan That palette this year. And then a few weeks later, I was visiting my sister in Chicago, and we went shopping, and I decided to look for some more eyeshadow. I was excited that I had bought a little palette, and I was like, you know, I might as well buy some other colors. So I was looking at some stuff at Macy's, and then a salesman just kind of came over and started talking to us, and I let him talk me into this palette. So my sister was nice enough, she bought it for me actually, and I got home and I didn't know what to do with it. The Smashbox Blue Eyes palette and all my previous drugstore palettes, you know, had a little drawing on the back and said, put this color here, and that's what I did. So when I got this, I had no idea what to do with it. So I started looking for tutorials online. I looked on Pinterest, and I soon discovered the YouTube beauty community. So I started using this all the time. I used it very consistently for a while, and then I started watching more and more YouTube and kind of buying more and more stuff, and this slowly kind of just sat on the shelf. So it doesn't look like it's gotten a lot of use, but I know that I used it exclusively for, you know, at least a month, I would say. There's a very slight dip maybe in Naked, but it's not very noticeable. But I have definitely used every shade in this palette before, but it's been a really long time, you know. This was my first palette, I really loved it, but now that I've used all these other eyeshadow palettes, I think it'll be interesting to see what I think of it now. And I've always struggled decluttering this palette because to me it was kind of my first big purchase. It kind of started everything, so I have some nostalgic feelings attached to it. But you know, I feel like I probably could live without it, so I think it'll be really interesting to see how I feel after this month. I used to have the Naked 2 as well. I got it maybe a month or two after I got this on UrbanDecay.com when they had their Friends and Family sale, which I think is going on pretty recently, so I'm guessing, you know, it was a couple months after I bought this. And I ended up decluttering that one because I only wanted to keep one, and I just had all these feelings attached to it. But as you guys know, I have my mini Naked 2 palette that I've kind of made myself, and I really love cool toned taupey shades. So part of me deep down has always regretted decluttering that one over this one, but I also like bronzy shades, so we'll see how I feel after this month. So I'm really excited to kind of get to know this palette again. So if you have any looks that you like to do with the Naked palette, please let me know. It's been a long time since I've used this, and I don't really remember what looks I used to do with it at all. So I'd love some suggestions, and if you have any, I know a lot of people have panned this or have a lot more experience with this, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Naked palette as well. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!